Hi guys, this footage here is from August of 2016 when I lived by myself in an apartment. I was moving out to combine households with my boyfriend, so I was cleaning out my spice drawer, and you can see I had jars in the front. Those were the spices I used the most, and then I had bags in the back. And then I kept backup spices, larger bottles and different things up in the cupboard above, along with the Lazy Susans and everything. And oh my gosh, moving was such a chore. It got heavy. Okay, now this was what his spice cupboard looked like when I moved in. And there were already things that I had brought over. You can see all those little bags. Those were mine. And I kept some other things in there because I would cook at his place quite a bit. Well, I took everything out and then I just cleaned off the shelves and made sure that they were all secure. And this is everything that I pulled out of the cupboard. These were all of the spices that were in there. Then I pulled out the box of spices that I had brought over. I had already taken out some of the things that were in there, but this is what was left. And I had to put everything on the countertop so that I could see exactly what I had. And then I went through and started sorting the bottles so that I could see, how many jars of onions or garlic or cinnamon, you name it. I had to just see what I had so that I could start combining them. So you'll see that I had multiple bottles of each item, and some of them could be combined and some couldn't. There were large bottles and there were small bottles of many different items. And can you tell how much I love cinnamon? So then I tried to put things together by cuisines or, spices or herbs that would typically go together so that they would be better organized in the cupboard. So you'll see, spaghetti type of items there. So as you can see, many of these bottles could be combined because there were multiples of them. And not only did I have jars, my favorite jars were the Target Archer Farms, and I still need to buy more of those and just switch them out. But I also had a lot of these bags that I would put into just kind of miscellaneous jars or other empty jars that I had saved. Now I'm to the point where I can start combining the jars. I can start combining all of the spices. Some of them were easy to just pour into other jars, and some of them I had to use a funnel in order to not make a mess. The one thing is you have to wash out the funnel in between on some of the spices. I guess it kind of depends on what you're doing, but some of them would either stick to the funnel or they have a very strong smell. Like you wouldn't want your garlic to go in with your cinnamon per se. And so you would have to wash it and then dry it out completely so that your spices or herbs don't stick to the funnel. So that came in really handy having that available. And while I'm mentioning items, those spoons that are in the bottom right hand corner, those are spice jar spoons and they are amazing. They make it so easy when your recipe calls for 1 tablespoon or 1 teaspoon or whatever it is. You can actually put that entire spoon in your jar. You know, those typical round spoons, those don't exactly fit in there very well. So I'll leave links down below to some of these items that you might be interested in. The spices that are in the bags typically come from ethnic stores. There's a few different ones that I like to go to. They have a lot of good spices you can't find in the stores, in the typical stores, and they also have really good prices. So you just have to look around and then learn what works best for you. Sometimes I buy items from Costco, like the garlic and the salt. I definitely get those from Costco. And then sometimes I go to Winco. It really just depends on what my needs are at the time. But I do like to have backups of certain items. So I think right now I'm putting mint into an old gelato container. I love those containers. They work so well. This part of the process is just about done. So now it's time to start cleaning the Lazy Susans or turntables, whatever you call them. I purchased mine from the Container Store and from Target because I needed different sizes, and both of them are really good quality. They work well. I haven't had issues with them. Like pretty much everything else, you can get those on Amazon as well. So I'm just combining the spices basically how I use them. What I use the most, I want it on the bottom right hand corner because it's closest to the stove. On the shelf directly above that, I have the spices that I use more for Mexican and Indian cooking. And then the two on the left, I don't use as much. And I mean, the items there still get used, just not as often as the others. So I have my garlic and my onion on the bottom right, and I have things like cumin, coriander, turmeric. Those are on the middle shelf on the right-hand side. I discovered that some of these jars wouldn't fit up there with a Lazy Susan, and so I'm just kind of switching things up to make sure that everything will fit. This is really, it's sort of like playing Tetris. You have to just figure it out and see what works best for you. And as mentioned, I set this up in August of 2016. To this day, it's pretty much the same. I've added some things and removed some things. These here are all of the jars and bags I was able to get rid of by combining everything and making it all fit. And here is how the spice cupboard looked after it was all done. I was so happy with it. This is one of my favorite places in the kitchen. I love spices. And I love knowing where everything is and it's in the same place every time. I don't have to search for things. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't. I would love to have you guys here. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.